Всем привет, меня зовут Олег, и мы продолжаем играть Stories. Stories. Ага. Остановились мы на подруге кошки.
There were more dead ravens along his path, some of them wounded in the back. He knew she could have easily talked her way past them, or clouded the little tiny raven brains with a spell. She was going out of her way to kill everything in her path. This wasn't Zenobia, not as he knew her.
Смысл вообще улучшать? Ясно.
More fire? Yes, please.
Чё? Для унылых. Слышь, ты унылый. Пиздишься. Идем, что, казнить короля? Да. Чё ты так дергаешься? Конь.
Maybe I should follow my nose, thought Renato.
Подумал, да. Конечно. Животное. Бесполезное. Две, три истины, и третья будет. Открывать что-то еще. Откроется уровень умения. А какой уровень-то? Не ясно. Какой может еще открыться, если открывается? Так, все нормально. О.
He could sense the jewel's power. He had a feeling they were going to be great friends.
Чё? Опять на корабль. Так мы так возвращаемся в итоге. Все пути ведут на эту хрень. Понятно. Значит, это конечное.
So, his beloved was possessed by the spirit of a demon. That's what it meant to be a hero. To brave the darkness in your loved one's soul. To have faith there was still good in her. To help her out of that darkness, no matter what the cost. But what? What could he do? She'd kill him if he tried to take the Iblis stone from her.
Кто может пронесет? Разобрал, как детей.
This is quite the
Все,
view, he
тут
thought.
еще тварик появится. Конечно. Все раскидано, растыкано, разобрано. Флажки повержены.
Renato
Ты
wanted to
будешь идти в
future
адекватном
self and
направлении,
commission
или
these
будешь в
poles.
стены упираться. Заебал. Бестолочь. Вот это вот передвижение мышки бесит, блядь. Честно говоря, заебал уже. Вот он бежит прямо, хотя я направляю его. Это непонятно. Получается, от него в стороне он дергается. Что ты дергаешься? Понятно. Критические удары. Ну и
At the
чё,
end of the
давай.
trail of raven corpses was Zenobia. Her father was frantically rigging a strange apparatus wrapped around a glowing core. "Don't do it!" he shouted. "You'll hate yourself in the morning. Stay back!" She screamed in a horrible voice he'd never heard before. It froze him in his tracks. The Emperor stared at him. "Run," he told the toad, "or hop." But he didn't manage to voice it, only think it. Zenobia stabbed her blade forward, and His Majesty fell dead. She began laughing hysterically. Or was she weeping? "Just walk away," she laughed at him. "I've no more use for you." There was something he needed to do, but he couldn't figure out what it was. So he did as he was told. As he walked away, he felt a chill in the world. The light in the sky seemed to dim. He didn't dare turn. He had a nagging feeling there was something he should have done just then. Something heroic. But he could not have taken the Iblis stone from her by force, and she would not have parted with it willingly. A cold wind blew from where she had been, but he still didn't dare turn. And then an awful laughter filled the air, and all the torches and all the ships went out, and he realized what he should have done. But by then, it was too late to do anything. And just like that, he was alive again, and back on the Farfarer, still fleeing burning Ubar. The book was still open before him. So, the book was a portal. It took you to the future, when your destinies would
Да, я
branch.
понял.
He had
Заткнись.
failed
Тупое
died.
животное.
3 times,
Да, я
but he
прочитаю.
learned another true thing. Zenobia
Да
still had
понял,
feelings
важно.
for him.
И чё делать? Так это ж конец. Ну. Герой, который всегда видит хорошее в прогнившем друге. Понятно. Чё, истина? Конечно, истина. А чё, еще дальше там будет? У меня 4-й уровень открыт. Ну, это вот это я понял, если собрать полностью. Я так думаю, да.
But he was starting to feel like he was getting the hang of this. There was a way through to victory. He could feel it. He just had to keep running the path of Destinies. With that, the book fluttered back to the beginning, and he fell into it. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced, or so a scholar in the mountains had told him. Surely the weapon that banished the lost gods could defeat the Emperor. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion
Да
that
это я знаю. Блин,
Lapino had
можно
betrayed the
пропустить.
rebellion.
Вот одно и
But
то
could
же
Renato
крутит,
really
а
leave an
скипнуть
old
нельзя.
friend to the Ravens?
Надоело уже. Да, беру вот
Every
это.
child knew about the Sky Ripper.
Я
The
же его так и не
Transcendent Emperor
собрал.
had buried its pieces. What could have brought them to light? This Emperor, Isengrim III, had once been kind, but he'd gone mad.
О, можно пропустить, отлично.
As he set foot
А
in
я
the
сижу,
island,
смотрю, как дурак.
Renato couldn't help feeling a bit curious.
Так,
Was
мы знаем,
Lapino
что-
still waiting to be rescued?
да мы все знаем,
No.
ничего не
He was
интересно.
probably drinking champagne with the ravens.
Смысл их
Did
открывать
ravens drink champagne?
незачем.
Did rabbits? Renato felt oddly thirsty, come to think of it. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? Renato never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a
А я,
hero.
по-моему, тут не
He
был еще.
didn't think too much. He just went with his gut and
был.
hoped it all worked out. The Sky Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. Could he stick with it?
А, критический. А ну, что за критический? А, есть уже. Сейчас можно посмотреть, они автоматически улучшаются. Да что ты дергаешься, ты как аутист. Что за звук заебало уже?
Renato hated the people who had built this castle. Did they even know what monstrous weapon lay hidden within their walls? The Sky Ripper could destroy anything it touched, or so the legend said. As the Transcendent Emperor had fought the lost gods, thousands of thousands had died. But Renato had been through wars. The only merciful war was a short one.
У меня шуровня. А, есть. Ну, раз есть, значит, где временный удар автоматически активируется при достижении определенного прога комбо 30 или 20. Энергия меча.
Cool. Wish I could do that.
Да, энергия меча. А, это вот это вот хорошо, да, вот это хорошо. Крючком щиты отбирать. Хорошо.
Ice walls only let you through if they knew you were cool.
Это ж просто вообще, ну, я так понял, никуда. Просто перемещусь, соберу сундук и типа вернусь. Да? Беда. Опять тварь.
Can I borrow that?
А что происходит? По-моему, ничего. Энергия за убийство. О, это хороший камушек. Не зря сходил.
Hey, Is that a word for a lot of ravens? Like a doofus of ravens?
Да вы уроды, что ли?
Those flames really bring out your eyes.
Уроды. Петухи горбатые. Так, зеленый или да насрать. На этой же локации. Да куда ты бежишь, ты вечно? В эту стену. Дурик.
Hey, why don't you guys fight in groups? Oh, I know. Because there's no I in team.
Вообще раскидал, разобрал. Щит. В принципе, они тут по кругу ходят, они мне и не всрались.
I'm sorry. Is that your shield?
Смешно.
Open, says me.
Вот все. Сложная загадка. Туда, конечно, можно еще, но не хочу. Там делать нечего. И тут ничего нет. Отлично.
There it was. Sky Ripper's armature.
Да-да.
The stuff that dreams are made of.
Да-да.
Engineers' dreams, anyway. The device was intricate. No one alive had the skill to make a thing like it. How was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece. Sky Ripper had a heart. A core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it? He didn't need to hurry to face her. She would find him. It was a no-brainer. He'd sacrificed his old friend Lapino to get the armature. And the armature was useless by itself, only a series of coils and wheels. War demanded sacrifices, and he would make more before the end. He would have to choose the greatest good, no matter how much it cost him. Zenobia. Well, he would see her sooner or later, across a battlefield or a sword's point before all this was over. He was sure of that. The power was in the core. Obviously, he had to get the core.
Да, конечно. Тупое животное.
Doubt sunk in before he was even out of sight of the Farfarer. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? It was the sort of path he'd always avoided. The path of responsibility, of seriousness. Had he grown up? He didn't feel grown up. He made this decision from his gut, like he always did. Somehow, he'd impulsively decided to stopped being impulsive. Did that make any sense?
Добыть ядро небореза. Точно.
What's behind door number 2?
Номер 2. Какое мощное, оказывается, оружие ледяное. Ой, тут верстак. Мне он не нужен. Не так как. Слышь ты. Ой, куры горбатые, меня бесите. Тупые уроды.
There was
Чё, я уже
something
почти пришел?
sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time.
Или нет?
Whee!
Да вот ТВ. Ну, отворачивай. Мог другим путем пройти, но там долго будет. Там муторно, нудно.
There were
Неинтересно.
fewer and fewer trees. There were only these huge
Не хочу
crystalline
туда
growths.
идти.
Had those been here before? He no longer heard
Пойду
birds
так,
except
как
for
я
the
не ходил.
feverish cawing of the ravens when they attacked. He couldn't
Не
smell the
знаю,
small
может,
animals
сюда.
of the forest, the mice and rabbits. Where had they gone? And he was getting hungry too. This was an unhealthy place to be. The thing about puzzles was, once you solved one,
Очень
you knew how
сложная
to solve it
загадка,
again.
ее будет тяжело
Puzzles
решить.
had no, what was the word?
Практически
replayability.
невозможно.
Renato wondered if you could design a
Но я
puzzle
это
that would
сделал.
be different every time you played with it.
Решил
Wouldn't that be fun?
невозможную загадку. Умений 0. Там, когда там я уже камень-то подниму. Ну, сейчас появятся уроды. Что ты слышишь, конь вонючий? Казню тебя. Да может хватит дергаться-то? Чё, почему направление какое-то дебильное? Вот чё он дергается, когда я нажимаю? Тупой дебил. Сломался. Ну, ништяк.
The 20-sided core made him feel physically sick. Once he had sneaked into a temple of the dark art, and he hadn't liked what he smelt and saw there. This felt like that. As quick as he could, he wrangled the icosahedron into the armature. The wheels began to spin, then glow. The sick feeling quickly spun away. Now he only felt sad. He had lost good friends for this war apparatus. Maybe Lapino wasn't such a good friend. Yeah, that made him feel better.
Естественно.
He carried his prize back to the Farfarer. Now, he had to make his next
вообще
move.
был
There was a key Imperial
мудила.
outpost on the Nexus.
Лапина мудила.
If this really was some sort of super weapon, he could use it to wreak havoc on the enemy. And if it wasn't, well, better to know that before the final battle. But maybe he should show it to some scientists first. There was an observatory on the Nexus. Maybe he should go there before he fired it.
Вот опять. Типа здесь не выбирал, и тут не выбирал. Ну, как это муторно. Ну, пойдем опять к ученым.
Of course. If you've just assembled a weapon out of legend that can exile gods from the world, you'd want to have a scientist or two look at it. And even if they disagreed and you had time, you could ask Calaveras himself. Yes, the observatory would be his objective.
Может, что Путнева сказали или скажут. Давай.
Why had the parts of the Sky Ripper only surfaced now, thousands of years after the Transcendent Emperor had dismantled it? The mad Emperor Isengrim had performed terrible, bloodthirsty rituals to invoke the lost gods. Was that why these ancient artifacts were rising out of the ground? How perfect, then, that the Sky Ripper would reappear to be his destruction.
Как бы он летает, как бы собранный полностью. Что-то же должен. Может, бьет.
Hoped his hook didn't break.
Может, нет. Да ты используй, а не бей. Псины, блядь. Я вас ненавижу. Да сдохни ты там в этих кирпичах. Что-то их много стало, по-моему. Опять кирпич. Да нафиг они мне не нужны уже, отстаньте.
A legendary weapon was exactly what the rebellion needed. They were outnumbered. The once kind emperor had become a tyrant. But his ravens stayed loyal, for he fed them his victims, and the other animals were too frightened to rebel. Renato shuddered at what the emperor was trying to do. To bring back the lost gods, the Black Harvest, the Black Sun? No. He would stop that toad, no matter what the risk.
А меня, наверное, эти убьют. Как его? Ворона.
These platforms were great. Renato wanted one for his house.
Ой. 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 Да я... Не вовремя. пропадет.
Renato was no
Да
physicist,
ты, тварь
but he
вонючая.
could have sworn something was wrong with the trajectory of these cannonballs.
Да ты меня бесишь, слышишь ты, конина.
That had gone rather well, actually.
Псы. Чё с экраном исчезай? Ну, если откроется что-то с камнем, то и откроется тот замок. Если там еще будет дальше что-то непонятное, неизвестное где-то, и по тем же локациям-то нафиг продолжать. Это очень долго. Если хотят, можем продолжить, а если нет, то и нет.
Renato was thrilled. The scientists seemed to think he'd put the Sky Ripper together right. But one toad was worried.
Yeah, Sky Ripper could tear a hole in existence itself. There are invisible strings that tie the universe together. If Sky Ripper cut one, the hole would widen and widen till our whole existence fell into it.
Another toad sighed.
Oh, Irving still believes in string theory. At least go see Calaveras.
Yeah, said the worried toad.
He knows more than anyone else has forgotten about the Transcendent Emperor.
If anyone could tell him how to use this weapon safely, it would be Calaveras. It was he who had told Renato how to find it in the first place. But maybe he had to give up on using it as a weapon. Maybe he had to go to the secret rebel base and ask the generals there what he could do with a weapon that he dared not use.
Okay.
Well, he should
Старый
have known
жабе.
he'd have to consult Calaveras again. The scientists at the observatory were smart enough. But what did they know of the Transcendent Emperor? He hoped it wouldn't delay him too long. The rebels had scheduled the final battle soon. Every day they delayed risked the exposure of the secret base. And some soldiers were already drifting back to their homes and families. Calaveras would fix the Sky Ripper for him. And then he would win the final battle. Maybe it was the cold. But after a few steps, Renato's optimism started to slump. What if Calaveras couldn't help? Did Renato dare use the Sky Ripper? Oh, he hated that he had chosen this path. It was so much simpler to rescue friends and attack enemies, even if some of those friends were more trouble than his enemies. Some of those enemies had been friends before and might be lovers after. No, okay, it wasn't all that much simpler, no. Physics made his brain hurt. That, at least he was sure of.
Так, отправиться к Лаверасу. К Леголасу. Лавеласу. Ладно. В следующей серии продолжим. Отправимся к этому Лавеласу. Отремонтируем этот непонятный прибор, который ничего не делает, просто летает. Ну и все. Продолжим дальше, посмотрим, к чему приведет этот камень. Ну, всем до встречи, всем пока.